Hey guys, so this was originally going to be a video response to my pal Joseph Ferguson, who made a video last week entitled "Why Do We Need Black History Month?" But it seems like he's taken the video down for whatever reason. I don't know. So, if he ever puts it back up, I will link it in the description. But as it stands right now, I guess this is just a standalone video. So there's been an ongoing conversation about whether or not we need Black History Month and other Black centric things like BET and the Image Awards and et cetera, et cetera. And my opinion is fuck Black History Month. And here's why. I spent a lot, actually all of my childhood, absolutely hating and dreading February. I absolutely hated Black History Month for quite a few reasons. One is that I would either be in one or two situations where one situation would be I'm the only Black person in the room and we're discussing Black history, so I am required to be now the voice of Black America, which is, I can't even think of the words of like what to call it. It's irritating, it's a little degrading, like not a situation I enjoy being in. And two would be me being in a school completely filled with Black people talking about Black History Month. But these were the kinds of Black people who 11 months out of the year are ridiculing me for not speaking AAVE, formerly known as Ebonics, and people who are literally not striving for shit in their lives and are ridiculing me for actually making good grades and trying to get the fuck out of the town I grew up in. And for 1 month out of the year, we're talking about how great it is to be Black and how proud you should be to be Black because of all the wonderful things that we have done. And all I could remember thinking is, yeah, but you motherfuckers haven't done shit with it since. We got through the civil rights movement, we got through slavery, we got all that shit, we got our equal rights, we own property, awesome. And now what? Fucking nothing from the people that I grew up around. Nothing. So the shit that we learned was so far removed from me that I could never understand exactly why I needed to know it in the first place. I wasn't a slave. Didn't know any slaves. Nobody in my family's ever been a slave. Don't understand why I have to talk about it every single year. I didn't live through segregation. My parents didn't live through segregation. My grandparents did, but the tail end of it. And so it was removed from me, and I couldn't really grasp why the fuck it was important because I couldn't see any forward momentum since the 60s. And this was before we had a Black president, so for everybody who wants to say that. But I've obviously changed my viewpoint since then, but it was definitely the way that I felt growing up. And also, we only talked about the stuff we learned in Black History Month was absolute bullshit. We only talked about 5 people. The same 5 people every single year for 12 years. It was Malcolm X, MLK, Madam C.J. Walker, Rosa Parks, and Harriet Tubman, with a sprinkling of George Washington Carver. So please tell me why the fuck we needed to talk about the same damn thing every freaking year. And not to mention the fact that the information that we did learn was whitewashed. It was told from the point of view of the victors. I remember this one teacher when I was in elementary school who really drove home the point that if you ended up being an African slave, you were not important in Africa because the higher ups in the tribes actually sold their own people to the Europeans for slavery. And I remember bringing that because when you're a kid, I was a kid at the time, right? And whatever your teacher says is gospel because that's how you're supposed to think in elementary school. And I got in enough trouble for correcting teachers. when they were wrong. So I was like, okay, well, this is gospel. This is what happened, right? I remember coming home with that shit and like bringing it up in a conversation with my grandmother, and she just kind of looked at me with this look of like, what are they teaching kids in school these days? And proceeded to let me know that if you bring a spear to a gunfight, of course you're gonna do what you're told, and that at the end of the day, everybody got sent over on boats. Okay, no matter how it started. But this is the kind of shit that you get with a formal Black History Month education in grade school in America. And this is why we have people like Stacey Dash and Raven Simone saying all of this misguided, ignorant shit. You have to forgive them, they don't know any better. But there are so many things that we should have learned in school that we didn't. We didn't learn about people like Bell Hooks or Chuck Berry, which I feel like we should have. And we didn't learn why Black names are so frequently Watermelon Drea and Ladasha and Bonquisha and all this other stuff that we've been taught to look down on as a society. I spent so much of my life hating my name as well. And it's actually a really interesting and really rich, beautiful history, but no one talks about it. And actually, if you want to know the history of how modern Black names came to be the way that they are, I will totally make a video about it. Just let me know, because really interesting stuff that really changed my mind about a lot of things. But I guess I am saying here that I have two opinions on every social issue. The opinion of how I would like for things to work in an ideal society and how things work in the real world. And for this, it's no different. Ideally, we want integration, right? Ideally, we want Black history to be taught alongside white history and Japanese American history and everything all together so that we don't need Black History Month. And we want Black people, we want Black roles in Hollywood that appeal to a wide audience, and we want Black Oscars, right? But as it stands, that's not the world we live in. So that's why we need Black History Month and BET and all this other stuff. Granted, it's a double-edged sword, because on the one hand, yes, we have our own stuff, but on the other, it gives us reason to be left out of the mainstream. Because they can always say, well, they don't need, Oscars. They have their own award show, or like they don't need to be included in the history books because we have 28 to 29 days a year where that's all we talk about. So we don't need to worry about it. So one of two things has to happen. Either we slowly get integrated and get more Black roles and get more Black history in the history books and have that taught as the standard, and then we can get rid of Black History Month and other Black-centered things. Or we can get rid of it now and just hope that we get included in the mainstream. But meanwhile, if you're Black and you're not playing to the lowest common denominator, Tyler Perry. I'm sorry if you didn't hear me, I said Tyler Perry. If you're Black and you're not playing to the lowest common denominator, if you're Black and you're making kick-ass rock and roll like Alexis Brown or Jada Pinkett Smith, if you're Black and you're writing fantasy novels, if you're Black and you're making movies about something other than the Black struggle of growing up in the hood, then you're shit out of luck. And you're completely left out of everything. And you should think that we would have progressed in living in the era after Black sitcoms like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air or Family Matters or The Cosby Show that really normalized successful Black people who don't speak in AAVE, who are doing something other than struggling. But somehow we've regressed. So the bottom line is, yes, we do need Black History Month and other Black-centered things, but we definitely need a major overhaul of all of that stuff. We need a more comprehensive education in Black History Month, because kids learning about the same 5 people over and over again starts to make them feel like maybe Black people didn't accomplish that much because we don't have shit else to talk about. And if we're going to have Black entertainment things, maybe include all Black people, not just the ones who fit the stereotype. Novel concept. I don't know. I probably opened a giant can of worms, and some of you are probably already furiously typing away. And that is very exciting for me. I would love to hear your thoughts and, I guess, carry on the conversation. But I look forward to seeing all of your beautiful, smiling faces in the next video.